and try and understand. So as I told you in the last occasion, that communication is about, this stage is about collecting as much information as possible. We are not trying to find solutions. We are only trying to find out exactly what has happened in the case. So that's our endeavor at this stage. And it's not very, it's not that the information will just come by itself. You might have to use some tools and techniques to make people comfortable, use joint sessions and private sessions at various stages and get the information. So let's look at what are the tools that we use. We use body language, where we'll understand how to, kind of give the right impression through our body language, and also understand that we should be aware that we also look at the body language of the participants and parties, so that we get an idea of what's going on with them. We use various communication tools or techniques, which are basically verbal, and these are techniques that we'll take up on in another session, because they are basically learning them in terms of how to do a lot of things. So I'm not covering that in this session. I'm taking it up in another session. Same with empathy with neutrality. That's another tool which we will take up in another session. And today we will look at asking the right questions. Before that, let's look at what are non-verbal communication method. What is non-verbal communication? So we have sensory modes. We have our own body language or demeanor. And we also have silence. These are some of the ways through which we communicate with each other without the use of words, any written material, or any and using any sign language or anything like that. Just our presence has some message. Let's look at this video.
हमारे बहुत मजे की बिरयानी बनेगी।
Thank you.
हमारी मेड बहुत अच्छी बिरयानी बनाती है।
खाता हूँ अभी।
ये कुरमा ट्राई करो ना, इन्होंने खुद अपने हाथ से बनाया है।
I will, but biryani is the winner.
ये कबाब चेक करें, इन्होंने बनाया है।
जी किरण, मुझे इस बिरयानी की रेसिपी जरूर देना।
हाँ
आंटी मुझे भी बिरयानी।
बेटा कबाब ट्राई करो।
श्योर बेटा।
What happened there?
He is trying to divert his attention to the other dish, kebab, and not appreciating that biryani has been prepared by his wife, or and he says that it is prepared by maid.
Yes, so basically, the wife
Gets angry at that point.
So what is the wife trying to communicate? He is saying what he's saying is talking too much. What about the wife? She's not talking, but we are getting some very clear message.
She's cautioning him or telling him to keep quiet or something like that. Yeah,
she is expressing her
Body
displeasure for revealing that she was not she had not cooked the biryani.
Yes. So she's basically revealing her displeasure. She's making there's not much of her that is seen. It's just her facial expressions. But I think all of us are getting that message. We don't need to really for her to speak anything. Everybody at the table must have felt that awkwardness or that coldness. And that is what we need to notice. Not all the time one needs to say something. One can notice just by the way people, look at you, people look away from you. Those are the cues that we pick up. So cues include hearing, smelling, seeing through our sensory modes, as they say, touch, taste. And as mediators, we must be aware that this is, we are passing across a message through, or just not by the words that we speak. It's about how we carry ourselves, how we, how we do up the room. One of the things that we offer is some kind of refreshments during the sessions, and some kind of, we do have coffee breaks. We sometimes have snack breaks, a working lunch. If you have this in between the sessions, many times this particular time tends to be an icebreaker. So I've observed that where there is a dispute and you take these little breaks between sessions, it's how you start noticing that as the session progresses, there's a little bit of warmth, there's a little bit of connection, a little bit of communication that starts happening during these breaks. And using humor, using all kinds of things, such as, food, music, we can actually connect with each other. Yes, Rushali?
I just wanted to understand how this connect can happen if the session is online, because there we won't literally have this kind of breaks, right?
Absolutely. So this is what I'm talking about. Of course, when there are physical meetings, online you still see parts of you. Eye contact is a very big thing. Attention, you're offering your presence without being distracted is another element of online communication. Ensuring that it's, there is no disturbance in the room, keeping videos on. All of these are methods by which we make a connection online. Yes, we have challenges in terms of it's not the same as in person, but we have some advantages of online. It costs less, it's time saving, we don't have to travel as much, so people sometimes prefer that. But when the sessions are very critical in terms of the first few sessions, you may want to have a hybrid mode where you have the first few sessions in person and then take them online once the communication or the connect has been built. So it depends. But online, these may not always work, but attention and eye contact as much as possible works. If you're going to be looking all around and not looking at the camera or the screen, I'm sure they will know that, okay, she's fidgeting with something else and she's not really offering her presence. And at the end of it, Rushali, one of the things is how you actually feel when you are at a, when you are offering your presence. And I've said offering your presence because that's the primary thing that you need to do. You should be totally and completely present without any distractions, that are obvious to other people, such as your phone and, messaging somebody or having people talking to you during a session, but also you should be mentally present as much as possible without distracting thoughts. If you can offer that presence, it's quite obvious through your body language that your entire attention is on, on the screen. So that's one of the things. It's a lot of mental work as much as it is physical. So that's one tip that I can give you as far as online communication is concerned. Non-verbal communication includes facial expressions, which we just saw in the video. Paralinguistic, the tone and pitch of voice, enthusiasm, anger, joy, surrender, quite obvious. I'll tell you, if you remember, I gave you the example of that person who came in with clothes that were not ironed, and he eventually, the next session, he came all dressed up. In the first session, it was so obvious that he was not looking either at the mediator or at the other party, and he refused to make eye contact with anybody. He was looking down. His answers were, if you asked him something, his answers were, "I am busy, I have work, I don't have time." Another point he put across is, their case is weak. I'm very sure I'm going to win this case in the court, so I'm not interested in engaging. And he did this in many ways. He came without a piece of paper. He came in and just sat there without, saying anything to anybody and say, "I'm in a hurry, I'm not interested." And that was more than obvious in the way he was sitting, like closed, not ready to talk. So basically, understanding that and picking up those cues, you need to be aware that, okay, this person right now is not engaged, is not invested. There are gestures, pointing fingers, folding hands, body language and posture. If you are not interested, it will be seen through your posture. And all of us can make that out. We don't have to study body language. I think all of us can read when a person enters a room, how, whether that person is really interested by just the way he will come and sit at the table, whether he'll shake hands with you or not, how he will shake hands with you, whether, how the grip is. All of these things we can make out as in terms of whether the person really is interested in having a conversation or not. And I think you all did an exercise yesterday as to how difficult it is to talk to somebody when the person who you want to talk to is not interested. And several times you will find this in clients. In fact, I had the very same experience with this individual. Like, even if you want to make eye contact, he will look somewhere else. So we face that, but understand that that's just the beginning. You still have to build rapport, and you do it through various techniques. Eye gaze and eye contact, as I said to you, staring, blinking, avoiding eye contact. Proxemics. So basically how you sit, like next to whom you sit, and how close or how much distance you keep. If you're comfortable with somebody, you will sit next to that person, you will pull your chair closer, you will sit facing the person. If you're uncomfortable, you will push your chair elsewhere and you sit away. So that distance at which people sit, in what direction they face, those are also cues. Haptics, communicating through physical contact. You come and you tap on somebody's shoulder, you tap on somebody's head, you nudge a person. It may not be that the person is nudging the mediator, but if the person is just nudging somebody who's come with him, his wife or his his colleague, you can get some messages from there. So be very present, be aware of the cues that you get. One of the things in the same case, I can tell you that when the next session, He came with his wife. Was smiling a lot with his wife and discussing a lot with his wife. So you could make out that they were both present. They came to the session with hope. And those are little cues you take so that you can take the conversation forward. And you know that, okay, it's a little change and there's a message that they are interested in communicating. Appearance, I think we discussed this quite elaborately, that a person would really notice what they're, how they're coming somewhere, if they respect the place that they're coming to, if they respect the conversation that's being had. Any thoughts?
Okay, that we will gain by experience only, but we will see the change initially. But to decode and to understand what does it mean or what message it gives, we will come to know only by practice or by.
Yes, absolutely. And I would say that not only by practice, I'm very sure so many of you have worked for so long in you all are very experienced professional. It's about also noticing. It's just about when you're present and you're noticing and allowing yourself to notice these things. That's the time you will notice and you'll say, yes, I felt it. And you can confirm that with questions. You can confirm that through the story that's coming out. And then that's how you learn. But trust yourself. Believe in the fact that all of us can read these messages. It's also the message that you give, not just the messages that you see. It's also the message that you give to the parties for them to get comfortable. So in mediation, we use the term SOLER, SOLER. And what does it, each of these alphabets signify something. S stands for sit facing the parties. Never turn around and face one party in such a way that your back or your side is facing the other party. Always have equal eye contact, or at least divide your attention between the parties in such a manner that you are never facing your back towards the parties. It's not a nice message to give. Sit at a comfortable distance, not too far. So I remember the first time mediation was not very common at that point in time. And I had a court annexed mediation. And I believe I was one of the first people who was doing a mediation in that mediation center. And I went there, and the way the room was arranged is the mediator's chair. Basically it was an arbitration room. So the chair was kept on a platform on top with a table, like how teachers are, and then there was a table down, and it was like the bar. So a table down and all chairs like in front of that table. So exactly like how it is in a courtroom, and then chairs behind that for people to watch. So first of all, nobody can watch a mediation like that. It's completely private. Secondly, how can people connect with you if you're sitting up there on a pedestal? You have to be you have to be with them. You are sitting with them. So I would avoid high chairs. So there was that one of those big chairs, like the judges. So I told them, let the arrangement be as it is. This table, you move it in a way that everyone sits facing each other, and don't make it, don't make it like so-and-so has to sit here or sit there. I want the parties sitting closer because I want to hear them clearly. And I don't want a high back for me. I want to be at par. So I'm not a judge. I'm not sitting here. I don't want people to call me Your Honor, because in the beginning, that's what people would do. They didn't know. And that makes a huge difference. Imagine talking to someone out there, and imagine talking to someone who is, willing to listen to you at par with you. So those little changes, They are not just with the body, it's with the environment that you create. So be mindful of that. Am I at this, am I at a space where they are connecting with me and able to share with me? Or am I sitting on a high chair in a place where I'm superior or I'm able to judge them? So that's the connection that you need to build. Comfortable distance, comfortable angle. Don't put yourself in a place in such a way that any of them have to really struggle to make eye contact with you. Because eye contact is one of the best ways to create the connection. That is how we sit. The S. O is an open posture. Don't fold your hands like this and wait. Look down or do things which are, very difficult for somebody to communicate with you. An open posture, arms and legs uncrossed. Whatever makes you comfortable for, to listen and gives a message to the parties that you are willing to listen and you are not closed. This also is shown through your facial expression and how you receive the message. Of course, verbal techniques of receiving the message we will take up in the next session. I'm just giving you what are the non-verbal cues today. L is for leaning forward. So if you realize that if you're really interested in something that someone is saying, automatically you'll lean forward a little bit, not like a lot, but a little bit. So watch yourself when you're interested, when you're talking to, you're in a conversation that's really interesting, and try and emulate that body language to be able to be seen as somebody who's truly interested, looking genuinely interested and listening attentively. And I will repeat myself here that it's not just about giving the message, it's also living the message. So if you already are truly interested, you will end up giving the message that you're truly interested. It's not about acting, but it's about actually living it and being mindful of that. E is for effective eye contact without staring. So your gaze has to be soft and not harsh, but at the same time, you have to show the person that you are interested. And R is for remaining relatively relaxed. So just because you are listening attentively doesn't mean you need to be tensed. You need to be relaxed. So this is the easiest way to remember what is the body language of the mediator. We also say sit with your, shoulders straight, looking up, not looking down, not continuously looking at your books. Simple things is primarily, frankly, about respect and attention. How would you respect somebody if that person is saying something to you and show them that you are interested? Just that. I think if we observe people around us, we will know who are the people we really like talking to. Any thoughts? Some examples. So if you see here, that's what is considered an open posture. A posture where you have particularly your hands folded like that. It's a subconscious way of being defensive. Then there is expectancy and there's frustration. So if you're keeping on fidgeting with your phone, with your book, playing with your pen, it shows that you are fidgety. You are not really present, you're not really interested, you're not really engaged. Whereas if you are calm, and you are, able to kind of, your expressions change with the story that the person is telling you, it shows that you are engaged. Evaluation versus suspicion. I think a lot has over here has to do with, apart from the body language, the expression. It's difficult to make out from just the, just the diagrams here. It's also with the expression. So if you combine them together, like we saw in the video, it's quite obvious that she was, not very pleased. Then there's self-control and nervousness. So someone who's, jittery will generally be shaking their legs or tapping on the floor, or, you have this thing that you keep banging your, playing with your fingers on the table. All kinds of things that we do, which many times we don't even know. But mediators have to be very careful that we don't give such messages, and we read the messages. So when you read something like that, perhaps call them for an open, for a joint session, for a private session. Explore with them what they have in their mind. These are cues you read to be able to see what topic is creating this. How are they reacting when the other party is talking? It's those small things. Are people eager to listen, or are they bored of the other side's story or about what you're saying? So there's another cue here. Sometimes we are busy giving gyan and preaching, and we should try and resolve our case and all of that, but they are not really interested in listening. Pick up those cues. Am I talking too much as a mediator? Because the rule is the mediator talks the least, parties talk the most. So if we are talking too much and there is boredom out there, it means you are really losing the track. You're on the wrong road. So pay attention to how the parties are reacting. And then there's insecurity and confidence, jitteriness, no eye contact, little things like that. Notice it. And as Mr. Praveen said, you will learn it as you go. At the same time, you will learn it as you go only if you are aware that these are things that I have to be very attentive towards. So here are some examples further. Shaking legs while sitting. We've seen this, I'm sure we have seen this many times. People are waiting. There's anxiousness and irritation. Massaging the forehead shows uneasiness. Nail picking shows timidness. Shows a closed attitude. So we've seen this in the earlier one also. If you don't notice it, but if you are closing your body posture, it shows that you are not either not interested or you are not liking what you're hearing. So it tenses up your body. What do you think about this picture?
They are both interested in speaking to each other.
Yes, and
Energetic.
You do feel like, you could talk to her.
Positive attitude and all that.
Yes. There's eye contact. There's a nice smile. She's leaning forward. Just notice all that. The expression.
Even if you can't see the other face, you still can make out.
Yes, that
person
is an interesting conversation going on. Absolutely. There's a connection. So this is about uh, the non-verbal cues that we just looked at. If in a online setup, there's a challenge in terms of how much we can notice, but this is only for us to be aware that certain things we can notice, and then we take it as look at these cues and then notice people around you. It's a very good place to start in terms of your colleagues. When you are traveling, you just look around and you can actually read what people, start becoming aware of how people react in different situations, when they're angry, when they're happy, and that will help us communicate better in our sessions. Dr. Siruru has something to say?
No. I suddenly became very conscious because I believe you are studying our body language while you are conducting this. And if our attention is getting diverted, you are getting it.
Yes. Yeah, actually, I think all of us can make out if you are distracted, particularly in an online session, we can make out if you are distracted, you're playing with your phone, or even if you're thinking something else, your expression changes, you don't see it.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you a very, very interesting story. So some time back, I was doing a session like this with Tanu, and we were at the fag end of the session, and she had just I was at the end of the session, and I was engaging the students in some questions, and all of a sudden she muted me and she took over the session. And I couldn't understand. I mean, that's not the way we rarely behave like that. We always kind of take the permission of the other side, person who's speaking and all that. And she just said that, and she took over. I didn't realize. So after the session, we both were talking, and she said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, I have a splitting headache, and I don't know when I got it, but I have a very bad headache. I only noticed it after you started talking." She said, "Yeah, suddenly your expression changed. And I thought something was wrong. So I took over so that you could just step back. And, because there was something wrong with you. I couldn't make out because I was so engaged with the thing. I don't know if I made a mistake or whatever, but there was something that went wrong. I mean, I could feel the pain later. I noticed it later. But she noticed it even before me. And she just said, "It's okay. I'm there. I'm watching." So if you are really alert, that slight expression change also you can make up. Okay, this is something that they are not happy about. This is something they are happy about. Those are messages. They're very, good signals for us to catch during that conversation. Rajan, you have something to say?
Yeah, just while this session is going on, I was observing some of the participants. I think Dr. Sonu and Roshali, as well as Dr. Sudhir, because I'm in a position to see all of them. Now, as far as Sudhir is concerned, he just picks up his specs a little bit after a few seconds or few minutes. Dr. Sonu and Roshali, in fact, both of them were scratching their hair a little bit.
Yes.
Sonu also was putting her hand behind her shoulder for a bit. I mean, this is about, I don't know what is the meaning of it.
I think Dr. Sunu has had a long day.
Maybe. And interestingly, because recently I have purchased one book, the title of the book is The Dictionary of Body Language. I think it is worth to read because I just started reading it. And the first chapter, it starts from hair to the nails, and it has been written by one FBI agent who, right from his childhood, was keen observer of the body language.
Okay.
And he is having another book which I have not yet purchased, What Everybody Says. These are two interesting books. Those who want to, just because I've just started,
I-
it is related to
I think
hair.
Rajan, you should put the books in the chat box for those who want to read it.
Yeah,
But at
I
the
will
same
give the
time,
name of the author
yeah,
also.
at the same time, I put this little disclaimer every time that it's not necessary to really study the language, body language. It's more important to be mindful and aware. So that's important, because not all of us will become proficient at reading body language and all of that. And let's not it's interesting, for those of you who are really interested, go ahead and study it. But at the same time, be aware that it's about noticing, it's about being present, it's about really picking up the little cues. That's what we need to do.
No,
In fact, no,
interpretation. Just because this particular book helps us to understand the interpretation of it, because
Yes.
that gentleman
Yes.
had a lot many years experience behind him, and
Absolutely. Yes, Dr. Surur, you wanted to say something.
no, while you were talking about being attentive and fidgety and all, I received some urgent message, and I was, actually attending to that, and you were on the dot talking about that. So
Yes. Uh, but yes, I mean, I know y'all are all doctors. Y'all are obviously sometimes getting emergency messages. Y'all are all professionals, and it's okay. But when you are in a mediation and you are a neutral, be very aware, because everyone knows. We think we are looking at the phone and nobody's noticed, but that's not how it is. Everybody notices, and more so parties. I'll give you one more example, and this is not of a mediator, this is of a somebody I had referred to a psychologist. And that person came back telling me, can you refer somebody else, because this person was eating while I was talking, and I didn't feel respected. Didn't feel that they were actually respecting me, because they were just busy eating, and I was talking about something very sensitive, and I didn't feel like I was being heard. So it's not about that person. I mean, it's about not just being truly present and listening. It's very much possible that that person was giving the attention, but it's also about conveying to the other person that you are really respecting the story that you're being told, and you're worthy of that story. Now let's move a little bit to verbal communication, back a little more concrete in terms of what questions to ask. So obviously, when we talk about gathering information, that's what we're doing at this stage. It's about listening, and it's about understanding, and understanding and listening in such a way that we don't miss out on any parts of the story, and we get the complete picture. When we start a mediation, you will generally get a very scattered kind of story, which will involve a lot of blame and the fact that I am right and the other side is wrong, or something to that tune. It's moving from there to get the entire picture. That's important. Many times parties will not be willing to talk in front of each other, or will hide certain information in front of each other. It's for you to gauge when to use a private session, when to use a joint session, and get this information and collect this information. When it comes to questions, we have 5 types of questions that we use: open questions, clarifying questions, follow-up questions, hypothetical questions, and closed questions. Very few lawyers here, but lawyers use a lot of closed questions because we tend to ask, we want to understand the story from the specific ingredients. Doctors also ask a lot of closed questions in terms of, are you feeling pain in this part of your body? Do you, how do you feel? Do you feel tired during the day? How's, can you see red color? Little questions like that. These questions where you have a specific answer or a just one word or a short answer are called closed questions, particularly ones where you have yes or no. Do you feel pain? No or yes. Okay. These are the questions which give you the least amount of information, but kind of confirm something that you have in your mind. As a mediator, we avoid using these questions in the beginning, because by this we are trying to confirm something that's in our mind, rather than allowing the story to be told from the other person's perspective. Then we have open questions. That's the first type, and we generally start with open questions. A simple question like, what brings you here? What does that do? That's just so open. What brings you here? Why have you come to mediation? What is your dispute? What is your story? How can I help you? It's not in any direction. It's a very broad question that can be used to get the story from the perspective of the person whom you're asking the story to. Once the person starts speaking, you have to acknowledge it in whatever way by saying okay, by saying, summarizing, by reframing. Now, those techniques we are going to look at in terms of exactly how to, converse to allow the person to speak better. But first we'll look at how do we start? How do we collect information in the beginning? And then we look at techniques by which we can use various techniques to do that better. So today we will only look at the broader way of asking questions and why we ask what questions. Okay. Then we ask clarifying questions. Once we get a story, we say, oh, you said you went up the steps. How many, where were the steps leading? So you clarify. Okay, you said you did this. What do you mean by that? These are not really, remember that this is not to confirm what you are thinking, but it's coming from a space of understanding what the other person is thinking. So always ask yourself, why am I asking this question? From where is this question coming? Is it coming from curiosity, or is it coming from judgment? Judgment will lead you towards a direction or towards a story that you are creating in your mind. Curiosity will allow you to understand the story from the perspective of the person who's telling this. Follow-up questions. What happened? Why do you think so? Hypothetical questions come a lot later. Hypothetical questions would be, so what will happen if this happens? If you buy that house, or if you buy that house, how it's going to improve your life? how is it going to affect your life? Do you want to, what will happen if your son moves in with you or your son moves out from your house? These are all events that will happen in the future, but there are ways of asking what will happen. It's a way to find out what's going on in the person's mind. So what you're doing is basically coming from a place of curiosity to try and understand what exactly is happening, or what is the perspective of the person who's telling you the story. The idea is to avoid having your own story. We call this the funnel approach. So you have a story and you keep coming down and creating, understanding the larger picture and then going down to the facts. Because the larger picture will have emotions, it will have situations, it will have a lot of stories. And the real facts of the matter will be, you can clarify later. But most important, the narrative has to be of the individual. And first you have to listen to the entire narrative, only then ask these questions. So first be open, understand the whole story, and then get into clarifying, follow-up, evaluative, and hypothetical questions. Okay. So every case has parties, it has issues, it has positions and interests. Parties, we know, it's people who have conflicting, what we call as interests or conflicting positions. They come because they have issues with each other. There's a dispute because two parties want two different things. The things they want are issues. Positions are what they say they want. And interests are what they really want. Yes, Vishali?
Can you explain these issues, positions, and
Of
interests
course,
with example?
of course. We are getting there. We are explaining that in detail. But and the reason I'm explaining that in detail is because while you do there's going to be an exercise, and while you do that exercise, we should be able to at least understand what's going on in terms of what these are. And as we go through the course, we'll understand them far more deeply, because positions and interests is what mediation is about to a great extent. Okay. So we know what parties are and we know what issues are. Okay. What are positions and interests? So I'll get to that. So positions are the first stand that you take. So you say, I want so-and-so to pay me 1 crore of rupees. When you ask them why, then they say, because I suffered these damages, because he has, he has harmed me in this way, because he's breached this contract, because there has been negligence in my case, I want him to pay me 1 crore rupees. 1 crore rupees is your position. The demand, the initial stance that a person takes is the position. Interests are the layers behind it. So if you remember right in the beginning, we had seen that iceberg picture. where there were issues that were seen on the surface, and there were a whole lot of things that were underneath the water. There were emotions, there were personality, there were demands, there were all kinds of things that were there under the water. What is under the water are the interests. What we see on the surface is the position. So here's the thing: positions, the proposal, solution, one solution. So generally it is a stand. It's I want this. He is guilty. There is negligence. There is damages, breach of contract. That is your position. The interest is the reason, motivation, hope, desire, need, worry behind the solution. And that can be anything. Sometimes it is respect, lack of respect. Sometimes I gave you the example of that case which I just spoke about, where that individual wanted recognition and belonging to the family. He had filed a case for encroachment. If you saw the initial case, it was encroachment. But what he actually was looking for was respect and belonging, because the compensation that was offered was good. It was the same compensation he eventually took. But what he got was a sense of belonging. What was he really looking for was that. Our position is what we have decided upon. Our interest is what caused us to decide. The fact that I did not feel that I was respected, I took a decision that let me show you who I am. I'll file a case against you for encroachment. I'm not going to let you go. You have to respect who I am. So what caused you to decide is our interest. Yes, Vrushali.
So at times, apology is the underlying requirement. So can apology be then considered as the interest?
Apology is generally a position.
But then there may not be any monetary compensation or any commercial
Agreed.
exchange at all.
Agreed. But apology is also a demand. The reason behind why you want the apology is the interest. What do you say? He has to apologize. Many times we become a messenger and say, "Acha, apologize kar do, a matter will end." Correct? But matter will not end. You have to explore the interest behind it. You have to ask them, why do you want an apology? What will happen if he gives you the apology? What is it that's that will that just basically why do you want an apology itself will give you a lot of explanation, and then explore it further with more questions depending on what the answer is. It could be something so simple as he did not respect me, or he didn't listen to me, or we don't know. If you say that apology is the interest, you will not get all your facts. But at some point, apology may be a solution, but with the understanding of why the apology is given, not just to brush it off. Is that clear?
Yeah, and I think in medical field it is all the more important, because if I recollect
Yes.
well, during the first lecture, it was told that majority of the existing mediations that are happening are getting closed with the apology.
Yes, but that apology is after the conversation, after understanding. If right in the beginning you give an apology, nobody's going to listen to you and you're going to reach an impasse. Apology has to be followed, first of all, with an understanding of what you're apologizing for. Many times it's not the mistake during that procedure. It's the consent, it's the behavior, it's some other action. So understanding why you are apologizing is very, very important, and how apology is delivered and what action is taken subsequent to that. So, of course, this is too hypothetical for us to actually understand right now. When we'll do some case studies, we will get a little more understanding. But apology, remember, if somebody says, because I've seen this happen in a lot of cases where the party insists that let them apologize to me. Give me a written apology. And you think you can write get the written apology. It's a very simple solution and get away with it. But that is not a solution. When the apology comes, the party will sit and say why he is apologizing. He's not even understood why he is apologizing. I don't want this. This is a piece of, this is just a piece of scrap. I don't want it. So I have seen that happen. So better to explore, what will an apology do? Why do you want an apology? For what do you want an apology? And explore. Surface statements which rarely provide much insight, such as, give me an apology. I'll close the matter. I don't want anything else. That's a position. Insightful observations on the underlying values and motivations. Demands are positions, concerns, aspirations, fears. When you go deeper, when you are vulnerable, you try and understand exactly what and why it happened. You get to know the interests, subjective wants and objective needs. Just saying, I want that house to be partitioned. Getting into what partition, why, how much, that's objective needs. There is a case that I was doing, 4 siblings. There is a will where the father has distributed the properties, and one property has been given to 2 siblings together, and other properties have been given to 2 siblings together, and from the father's perspective, it has been divided the way he felt was appropriate. 2 of the siblings did not find that, were not happy. They went for mediation. And when you took the valuation, all of them were valued equally. In terms of the valuation, and the division was accurate. There was no problem. But the property that was given to 2 siblings was the house in which the siblings grew up. They had memories, and all of them wanted that property because they wanted their children to be in that house and kind of experience that ancestral house. But that house was given to 2 siblings. So if they were to allow these people to do that, that means they are getting a raw deal, because these people have already received property of the same amount. So the whole thing has to be rethought. So if eventually they decided that all of them will keep this property as common, and the rest of the property again would be valuated and divided equally among the 4 siblings. But the the initial position was that this belongs to me and this belongs to you. That's what the will says. And, the monetary valuation is absolutely right. But when you get into the interest and you realize this is more about emotion, and for all four of them, in the importance of the relationship, they wanted to continue being good to each other or being connected to each other, enjoy the bonds that were there between them. When you tap onto that interest, then you can find solutions. They can find their own solutions with that understanding. Till you stick to the point that, okay, we have 4 properties and 4 properties have been divided equally, there is a problem. There is anger, there is dissatisfaction, displeasure, and it keeps growing. So that is subjective wants, objective needs, and leads to positional bargaining. So if you keep sticking to one, the fact that I don't want to understand what your interest is. This is a property, it is worth 4 crores. This is a property, it's worth 10 crores. And 3 of you have got that. And I have got this. It's almost equal. And it's a fair enough division. But then when you understand that this property, which is 4 crores, actually is the house that we grew up in, then everything changes. But that conversation needs to happen, that understanding needs to happen, till you stick to the fact that what is the value of it, or the fact that how it's divided, you're going to reach what we call an impasse. Any questions?
But madam, normally we need to give it to the one party or two party, whatever is there. Otherwise, their fight will still continue. We are postponing the ultimate division. This is my experience.
So that is okay if there are no emotions involved. Like in this case, it's very clear that the emotion involved is not so much the monetary value of the place, but the emotional value of it for all the siblings.
Again, keeping the property common means who will bear the maintenance, who will
Yes.
maintain, who will
So
have
that
priority,
whole agreement has to be brought in.
who will be taking the care of repairs, who will employ
Correct,
servant.
correct, absolutely. Those questions will come up, and then there has to be an agreement on those questions. So it's not going to be so easy as partition and go off in a case like this. It will get into that, because those were the questions that were asked when the positions were taken only by the person who had inherited that property. That I don't want to, in fact, one of the stands that he had taken is I'm selling the property and dividing it between my sister and me, because I'm not keeping the property. Who's going to maintain it? It's maintaining it will cost me far more than what I've inherited. So I don't want it. But the thing was, the other sibling who was older had attachment to the property because he had memories. He wanted his children to have access to it. But for one person to take on the responsibility of actually maintaining it was very difficult. Bottom line is, don't think of the solution. Understand the problem. Solutions parties will come up with. But is there a problem that has been understood by everybody? That's more important. What we do, we think of the solution first from our point of view. कैसे divide करेंगे? You never know what they may have a trust and put that property in a trust, and this trust will run it. They may invest money in the trust and have somebody to look after it. This was not a very, there was money in the system. The inheritance was massive. So we are not talking about somebody who doesn't, want to spend money or like that, something like that. but understanding each other, having that space to talk about. If we as mediators start thinking, no, how to divide this, we are going solution side. We are not understanding the entire problem. First understand, eventually we will see what solution comes up. Don't jump to the stage of agreement. Stay present in the moment, get all the information, see what to do. There's still 2 stages left. Any more questions? I know I've just introduced this. As we go ahead with the role plays, we will understand. But every role play, I invite you to go through the facts in a way that, okay, this is the position, this is the interest, and understand it from that point of view. Okay, so analyze it as a mediator. Analyze it, okay, this is what they are saying. What does it mean? Is it a position? Is it an interest? What is it? How to find interests? Understand the reason behind the position. Why do you say that? Explore further using questions such as, these are some of just examples of questions. What concerns, worries, upsets, bothers, or frustrates you about this situation? This will, this division of property, this case that you have filed, this what you claim to be negligence. What concerns you? What is your basic concern in wanting justice, in wanting damages, in wanting an apology? Why do you want it? What do you fear might happen if? One of the things that in negligence cases is, what do you fear will happen if you don't take action? This will keep happening. They will never realize their mistake. Very common statement. They'll keep taking people for granted. They'll make money and go away. We are the ones who are suffering. Right? So those kind of things, then you explore that further. Those are just positions. Uske niche bahut kuch hota hai. Understand from where those judgments are coming. They're all judgments, they're all positions. Go deeper in that. What do you hope will happen if? Now, we are not just exploring fears. We are also exploring hope. What do you really care about? What is important to you about? So we'll have exercises where we have specific examples and we will look into it. I'm just giving you questions for now. What will your solution help you to accomplish? What leads you to believe that your solution will get at what you need? So one of the positions that people take is they say that this is the solution, one and only solution. There's nothing else we can do. They'll be completely closed. Sometimes the mediator is completely closed. ऐसा ही हो सकता है इस case में, if you have to find a solution. Many times the parties are closed. That is a position. Okay. Let's look at just some simple examples. There's a project completion timeline. Boss says 3 months, project manager says 4 months. What is it, position or interest?
Position.
Position.
Sure?
So, Ganda, can I just ask?
Yes.
Basically, the difference between position and interest, would you say it's the timing? Like in the beginning, it's a position which slowly gets converted into an interest with discussions and mediation. Is that how you can look at it?
Position will generally come before the interest.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so you
initially,
have to explore the interest, explore further to get an interest.
yeah.
But it depends on party to party. Sometimes parties may just come and say, "This is what I'm looking for." So just because it's come right in the beginning, don't assume it's a position. Explore.
But an interest will never come in the beginning, right?
It may come. Sometimes parties are okay. So, for example, sometimes the only interest a person has is money.
Okay.
And it may just come out in the beginning. I want damages. There's been negligence.
That also is a position, right?
It could be a position, but in some cases it may be an interest that all I want is money. Then your only way to settle is money. Correct?
No, but then after that you will have discussions and
You will have
mediation. You'll
discussions.
sit across.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you may eventually come to the answer that they know that there is something here, and the only thing they're looking for is money. Isn't that possible, Dr. Sunno?
Yeah, yeah.
Many people are just taking advantage of the situation ki galti hua hai, so I want money. I'm going to earn from this. So I
So
mean,
that means their
there are
position
cases. Yeah, so you have to
is
explore ki what do you really want? Is it just money, or is it you are asking for money so that that person feels bad, or that person feels that they have lost something just like you have lost something?
but
Are
then
you
at the
trying to
end
get
point
equal?
is money. Huh.
If the end point remains money and there's nothing else, then your money is interest.
So the position has become the interest then at the end.
Yeah, meaning it cannot be one becomes it's not position becoming interest. It's basically what is it that the person is eventually looking for, because your solutions will be based on what the person actually wants. But remember that when people come to the table, sometimes they don't say what they want, they camouflage it. They themselves don't know what they want. They feel they want this, but when you explore, they realize that there's something they want, and they feel this is the only way they can get it. That interest could be anything. Okay, and we'll understand this better when we do the role plays and with examples. Yes, Rushali?
So in commercial disputes which involve monetary compensation, it will be interest only, right? There won't be then position, because what else why would otherwise they
That's not true. That's not true. If you start looking at commercial cases, there are a lot of cases where there are interests beyond just money. Profits maybe, maybe market standing, maybe your reputation, maybe a business deal, maybe eventual, maybe money, but not always just a money. So don't differentiate between commercial and non-commercial. Sometimes emotion also plays a big part in commercial disputes. Just go with an open mind. Yes, Rajan?
As far as position is concerned, it can be broadly said that what a person desires or what he thinks he deserves to get, basically, or it is his wishful thinking that what is he is expected to get. But as far as the interest is concerned, interest is the actual workout that okay, this is what will be sufficient for the purpose of getting satisfied. So
Correct.
we can differentiate between position and interest, that in as far as interest is concerned, which actually subserves the or content up to which or the thing which will be satisfying the person.
Correct.
That is how it may be perhaps differentiated.
Yes. So here in the earlier example, project completion timeline, boss's interest could be a commitment to under a contract to a customer, project completion before IPO launch. There could be various factors depend that the timeline depends on. Whereas the project manager could have lack of staff to support him, or accommodate paternity leave for a new father, and possible solutions if you know what is the reason behind it. Now just imagine that there is a fight over the period. If you continue fighting over the period, what will happen? It's
Yeah,
very
loss,
much
loss of more
simplifying.
time.
Yes, it will just be like whoever has more power will dominate. Boss will say, no way, you just have to, but there'll be frustration till it may not work out. Eventually you may even fail to deliver on that timeline. But if you explore why, and the employee also understands from the boss that why is he looking at that kind of a timeline, there'll be understanding that will be built. There'll be a way where you can find a solution. Both of them will find a solution because both of them will understand the problem. They can explore substituting a team member. They can explore bonus for concerned employee, that one individual who's not available during that time, for making him, giving him an incentive to be available. So this is a scenario in terms of how interest and position is important when it comes to finding a solution. Equipment sale. Buyer says, I want 10% discount. Seller says, I'm giving a fixed price. Very common. This itself could be, of course, interest. But we always, as negotiators, we always explore, why are you saying it? What is it? Show me your figures. Show me how you've come to this amount. Those of you who are into purchase will know it's very typical. But we do go into the details of pricing, how you reach to tell me. We do that, right? And then the buyer says, I have budget constraints. This is my budget. I need to fit my entire product into this budget. So I need this at this budget. Seller says, I have profit margins and sale market share that must be met. I can't really give you it to you at this kind of a price. And then you explore solutions that, okay, if we have to stick to this price, how can we achieve it? And you have additional things that can be added or deleted or whatever to come to that price point which both parties agreed. Yes, Rajan?
Now, in the previous two examples which you have narrated, as far as completion of the project is concerned, now time factor is a position, but completing the project itself is an interest of both the persons.
Correct.
Similarly, as far as the sale deed or the gazette sale example is concerned, now what would be the position? Positions would be that one person wants to sell, another person wants to purchase, but the interest of both the parties are different. As far as seller is concerned, his interest would be, it would depend whether he would like to have the long-term relationship, whether he would like to have a one-time deal, how he is looking with the purchaser. If he is okay, let it be a one-time transaction and he doesn't want to have a future interest in his mind, he would deal accordingly. Similarly, as far as the purchaser is concerned, he also wants to have a deal, but how he is looking at it, whether he is looking, okay, if I
Yes,
delay,
Rajan,
prolong.
Thank you, Rajan. So basically, I think everybody's understood those two examples. Let's proceed. I want to know from you if any of you had an issue with the example. Like if you all thought that no, I didn't understand position on interest. I'm going to go back to the first, we did one small little exercise with the water bottle, if you recollect. So if you, can you, it was Rushali and Dr.
Yes, that's
both
right.
who did that. Do you recollect what are the positions and interests in that example?
Yes.
The position was that I need the water bottle.
You
Both,
needed the
for both
water.
of
Yeah,
them.
both of
I
them
want to.
wanted the water bottle. Correct.
Yes, that's the
Correct.
position.
But yes.
My interest was that if at the time of the journey, if I need water, then I would drink it. So it was like keeping it as a spare thing. Whereas for Rushali, it was she was extremely thirsty, and it could be a medical issue if she doesn't drink it. So her
Yes.
need was. Yeah.
Yes. So basically, that is what, I know we are simplifying it, but to understand that there was a position that both of them wanted the bottle, but they wanted different things with the bottle. One wanted the water, one wanted the bottle itself. So that is an example of position and interest. If you go deeper and try and understand, you may be able to look at various interests which can be met in different ways rather than that one way of buying the water bottle fully for yourself. Matrimonial, wife wants to accept a job overseas. Husband wants to settle down in the hometown. And they are having a conflict. They've reached a point where they want to separate because of this reason. If you explore it, interests disclosed include wife has a need to protect her identity, to give good quality life to her child, feels that there will be lack of exposure or growth if they confine themselves to a small town, does not want interference in the upbringing of a child. Husband wants to be there for his aging parents, wants to stay connected to his extended family, wants the children to understand their culture and heritage. Is there anyone wrong and right here?
No, both are right.
Both are right. And in many cases, you will come to a point like that. Can you really sit here and tell the wife, no, you should go? I've seen a lot of cases where you said you should go and stay, listen to the husband, stay where he's saying he's taking care of old parents. But the interest that she has are also quite important. The interests that he has are also very important. So both are right. There is no one who is wrong. Both perspectives are right. But when they understand each other's perspectives in the way where they are not judging each other, they're not, fighting with each other, they're just trying to understand each other, which is what we do in mediation. There is a possibility of coming up with various solutions. Those solutions, mediator does not offer. Those solutions they come up with because they understand each other. Very important. So this is if you see this case, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If as a mediator, I tell them, you stay there, then you come for vacation to your parents' place, the husband will think I'm biased. If I tell them you stay with the aging parents and you send your kids to the hostel, the wife will think I'm biased, that I'm siding with the other side. But when they understand each other, they will start coming up with solutions. What are the possibilities? How can we, satisfy both parties' interests? But that we can do only if we identify positions and interests. Most people don't go beyond positions. You don't feel safe enough to express your interests. And in mediation, we explore the interests. Make sense?
Is that something which is keen Similar to understory in that
Yes.
high conflict book.
Yes. It's like a understory. It's basically, you can use various words, but in mediation, we use the words specifically positions and interests. And we keep in our mind that till we are convinced that something is not a position, we don't start looking at solutions. Okay. Also, when we are in mediation, we say that we are solving problems. Okay. And many times when you come to the table, the problem will be quite complex in terms of it will involve a lot of blame, and it will involve a lot of finger pointing and emotion. And the solution will lie in understanding the problem which is separate from the people. Okay. So we have to, as mediators, go to the crux of the matter and understand the problem, which is the factual issue, and not the people problem, which generally involves perceptions, how individuals see it, emotions, or issues of communication. Substantive problems are facts and issues which both parties can perceive as the same thing, which is difficult, but that's where our aim is. We handle people softly. We give them space to speak. We are polite with them. We allow them to express their emotion, to be vulnerable. We create that safety around people to not judge them and to be empathetic towards them. And we empower the same people to deal with the substantial problem strongly, to debate about it, to explore solutions, to brainstorm. We do all of that with the substantial problem. And as we again look at examples, we will find out what is a substantial problem and what is a people problem. Okay, what we'll do to learn this better, we will take a case and all of you will be mediators. I want you all to use open-ended, clarificatory, follow-up, hypothetical, and closed-ended questions to explore the story. And when you explore the story, I want you to tell me what are the positions that the parties are taking and what are the interests that the parties have. So what we'll do is we'll share the basic facts with you. And there are two parties, two people who are helping us. There's Mrinalini and there's Kamakshi. And they will be helping us with the facts. So both of them are the parties. And you have to ask them questions turn by turn. So one person doesn't ask all the questions. Each one of you, please ask the questions. I'm going to make it full screen and get rid of this presentation. And I want you all to focus on the problem and ask them questions. Where's Mrinalini? Is she not there? Okay. Mrinalini, ping yourself and Kamakshi.
Yeah.
And please share the problem with the participants.
Yes, ma'am.
Kanda,
Yes, JP.
can I just come in for a minute?
Of course, please.
See, sorry, I'm butting in, but let me just try to be devil's advocate.
Sure.
You people have already been told about positions and interests. Can anyone tell me how do you shift a person from positions to interest?
By asking open-ended questions, which will get them to think what they actually why they want a particular thing that they have demanded.
So what kind of questions? Now she has told you are going to now start.
Yeah, so the questions are many. We were talking about that matrimonial problem that was there. So here both the parties had equally important questions to ask, important concerns about their children, and what we wanted them to do was sit down with each other and come out to on a common ground which they could agree with. So here the questions would probably be how would you be able to adjust, what would you be able to give just in order to receive, so that there is a settlement that happens between you, or whether you are able to get onto cordial terms. We can talk about times which were better spent where they were not at loggerheads with each other, and how did the problem escalate. When they start discussing about how the problem escalated, they would probably be able to figure out where things went wrong, because both would probably introspect and then come out with solutions.
Deepa, these are a lot of questions. You know, I remember yesterday when the exercise was being done, Dr. Subodh asked so many questions. You know, he had so many questions to ask his patient. And that's where you now went. Let me give you a very simple example. You know, a mother comes home and sees two daughters fighting over an orange. Both the daughters want the orange. What would you do? There's only one orange at home. I mean, it's at night. You can't go to the market and get another one.
See, the positions will have to be understood.
Rajan sir, you know about this. Just hang on for a minute.
Sorry.
Let the doctors deal with this.
So probably we would try to explain to the children that there's only one orange, and they have the option of equally distributing it amongst themselves, or maybe one person gives it to the other. So they need to discuss why they want these oranges and what are they going to do with the orange, and explain them that if one of them can wait, fair enough, we will give it to the other one, and if both of you can't wait, then we will probably divide.
And both the daughters will be unhappy if you divide 50-50, because both want the entire orange.
Myself. Sorry.
See, that's what an ordinary mother would do.
Yeah.
You reach there and then you retract it. So a trained mother, you know, when she wants to shift her children from positions to interests, asks the question why.
Why exactly? I was just going to say that.
Why do you want this orange? So the one daughter says, Mom, I want the pulp because I want the juice. And the other daughter says, I want the skin because I want to apply as a face pack. What happens?
Both of them can be given that, whatever.
Both of them get 100%. Both of them get the orange. So the most important question to ask when you want to shift parties from positions is, why is it important to you? Just this small, when a party takes a position, why is it important to you? And see the interest coming out. Just one question, why is it important to you? Why do you want this, beta? Why is it important to you? You know, the problem with most of us is we decide for the children. You know, and another example, a small little Ganda just butting in. You know, these two friends were walking in the park. And one friend tells the other friend, you know, I don't understand my son. He just doesn't listen to me. Is there something that you find wrong in this sentence? We don't, because that's what we do. And the other friend replies, I thought to understand someone, you need to listen to them. Just a small difference. The first sentence was, I don't understand my son. He just doesn't listen to me. And the friend replies, in order to understand someone, you need to listen to them. And this is the entire exercise Ganda is taking you through. Positions to interest is listen to people, understand them. And the only way and the best question to ask is why? Help me understand why is this important to you? And you'll get whole lot of interest on the table. Ganda, I think that was the intervention I just wanted to, because you see, I mean, all this is said about shifting positions to interest, but how do we do that? I just wanted to connect both the dots before they go into the questioning skills. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I think the file is in the chat box. Please have a look at it and read it. And in 5 minutes, we can start. I want both Mrinalini and Kamakshi to introduce themselves as who they are. And Mrinalini, if you can pin both you and Kamakshi to the screen.
Yes, ma'am. I've done that. Just renaming ourselves.
See, madam, I have not got the file. Sorry.
It's Mrinalini, just send it in the WhatsApp.
WhatsApp group. Yeah.
Yes.
The file name is Role Play Dream Home.
Yes, sir.
Should we begin? Who would like to start?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So we have to ask all the questions or one question, or how are we doing
No,
this?
you ask one question, one person at a time, and
all right.
but try and have a
who's
method
representing
to
whom?
it.
Sorry. One
Who's
question at a
representing
time.
whom between?
So here they are. There's Sia and Sandeep Sharma, and there is Ranveer Singh Rajput. There are two parties. One is a builder, on one are the people who have bought something from him, a property, and the facts have been given to you. Now you have to frame your questions.
So, what brings you here today?
Whom are you addressing?
The Mr. and Mrs. Sandeep Sharma and Sia Sharma.
Hi, good evening. So I'm Sia Sharma, and I've been invited for this mediation session by Rajput Builders, and that's the reason why I'm here.
Okay. I continue asking, or someone else has to ask?
I think others should ask. Let it like go, one question.
I would like to put to
Rajan, may I request you to hold, because this is their first role play. Let them practice and then later on you join. I just want them to practice a little bit. We have done it before. So if you don't mind, please. Yes, Dr. Deepa.
Hello. Good evening. I'm Dr. Mungi here. So Mrs. Sharma and Mr. Singh, are we doing good? Comfortable?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So we are here regards the dispute. I mean, I have read what the matter is. I would like to know what the matter is from each one of you. I would request Mrs. Sharma to first start with what she has in mind, so that we know what the issues are from you and get the details of what you want. I mean, what is the matter at hand? Sorry, not what we want, but what is the matter at hand? Yeah, Mrs. Sharma.
Yes, thank you. So Sandeep, my husband, and I decided to purchase a property in Pune. And our natural choice was, of course, with RSR Builders. And so we carefully selected this property. We spoke to, the managers at the property. We had many site visits, and the property was really most appropriate for what we needed and wanted at that point of time. You could say it was like our dream home. And we went ahead with the paperwork and the purchase on the promise that this property would be delivered to us in 2022. And we thought we would sort of do it up and all of that and move in. And of course, that has not happened because we haven't got the property as yet and we are just stranded. So that's basically what the issue is. I mean, all I want from this is really to be able to have the possession of my house as soon as possible and as promised.
Okay. Mr. Rajput, would you want to say anything about this? Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so I completely understand where, Mrs. Sia is coming from. And I'm really sorry, ma'am, for, having you to go through all of this. And as you know, RSR Builders is a very well-reputed brand in Pune, and we've been in market for over 15 years. So naturally, when this came to such a, standstill, and when we had to be faced with such an issue, we are trying our level best in taking into consideration the people who have invested in our properties, concerns. And for that, I deeply appreciate, Mrs. Sia and Mr. Sandeep Sharma to accept our invitation and come to mediation for giving us another chance. And I would like to tell them that, we are trying to give the possession at the earliest. And I hope they understand, and I hope that we are able to come to a, understanding that we can find what we can do.
I've been hearing this argument
Yes,
for I don't even
Mrs.
know
Sharma,
how long now.
thank you for having the patience to listen to Mr. Rajput. Let him complete the statement and we come back to you. Thank you for raising the hand and holding on for a while. Mr. Rajput, do you want to say something more?
No, I think I did not understand what Mrs. Sia said. So maybe if I could just hear her and then probably give my argument, or
Let us remember one thing. We are not here for arguments. We are here to understand each other's position and then try and understand what we have in mind, so that we can find a solution to things, where you can come out with your own solutions and help yourselves and settle this issue between that is arising. And at the end of it, we expect both of you to be very happy. So, Mrs. Sharma, please continue with what you were saying. Really sorry to interrupt you this way. Extremely sorry about that.
Oh, there's nothing really that I need to say anymore. I mean, I've said what I wanted to say. It's very clear. You've made a promise, you need to fulfill it. You said you would give us the property. We've waited very patiently, but we have no other choice.
Yes, ma'am. I
There was a
understand
promise
where you're
that was
coming
made
from.
and
Mr.
And
Anisha, please hold.
that was not.
Okay, Deepa,
no, I
Dr. Deepa, I just want others also to participate. So, well, let's give
She's getting
let's
an
give
agreement done.
yes, she's getting very good, and very nice tone and excellent questions also. But let's allow everyone a little bit of. That's why we've done this like this in a plenary session, so that we see each other and we learn from each other. So excellent job. Okay, who else would like to ask? And
Can I ask?
let's not stop each other, but try and
Yeah.
have maximum participation.
The opening statement has been made, and that's my presumption here. Mrs. Sharma, you just mentioned about the delivery was to be, I mean, the possession was to be given in 2022, but I believe it was August 2023.
2022 was the original plan. And then I was to kind of move into the flat in 2023 August. And we are already at the end of 2023, and clearly that's not happened.
Okay.
can
Aris,
I go ahead?
yeah, Aris, was there any reason for this delay, or what do you want to say about this?
Yeah, so while I completely understand, and the group in itself, we are very big on customer service, and we take our customers' interests and all their investments into consideration, and we ensure that they get the best of service and they get quality service per se. So unfortunately, we have faced a setback, and if I can, if if you're comfortable, if we could have a separate session, maybe I could discuss it with you and then put it up to Mrs. Sharma, if that is fine.
Yeah, I think I'll ask my co-mediator to take forward this discussion. I think Rusha.
I have a doubt. What is this private meeting? I mean, already you can see that, Mr. Rajput is doing all this sweet talking, because I'm here as a person who suffered. I mean, he has nothing to lose really. And now he wants to sort of have this private meeting, and God knows what he
No,
wants to discuss.
absolutely not. I mean, we are not trying to belittle any of your, assumptions or any of your issues.
Mr. Ranveer, I'll explain this if you don't mind, please. So, Mr. Ranveer and Ms. Sia, both of you, I'll just like to inform you that private session is not something which is a one-sided discussion. It is just a discussion which is taken up with each of the party. We give time to each of the party, equal time to each of the party. We try to give as much as possible equal time. There could be a little bit here and there, but the intent is to understand the other party. There could be certain things which probably they will not be comfort in discussing in the open forum, and that's the whole intent to have that private session. So, Ms. Sharma, please be rest assured that while I will be talking to Mr. Rajput and trying to understand his side, I will also have the time spent with you to understand your side. Trust that is okay.
All right, all right.
So, Mr. Rajput, can we have this private session? So, Gandha, we are supposed to have this as if she's not hearing?
Yes.
I'll just put up my video.
She can put off her video, so you can have a private session. Now, again here, try and participate. And if anyone's questions are not taken, just put them in the chat box, so one of you can just pick it up and take it. We are actually exploring how you are we are trying to understand how you are asking the question, where it's taking us.
So, Mr. Ranveer, tell me something more about your project. As Mrs. Sharma said that it has got delayed, and you also acknowledged that it has got delayed.
Yeah.
So,
So, of course, and initially our project was supposed to be delivered by August 2022, as Mrs. Sia said. But unfortunately, the thing is, we are facing backlash and delays from the authorities. So, as you know, the for any building to start off and to actually get their licenses, you need an occupancy certificate, which essentially shows that the building is complete and it's safe to occupy, and only then will the residents also be available. I mean, they can only then avail the services of electricity and water. So see, it's very easy for us. I mean, we can probably, considering that we have market influence and everything, we can go ahead and give them the possession and do some jugaad and get them water and electricity. But that is not right on our part, right? And we are paying them 20,000 compensation for every month that the possession has been delayed. So we are trying whatever we can do from our end, and I think she should understand that we are also a company who have to stay afloat. So we'll need some sort of expenses for us as well. Building a house or building a property is not that easy, and it's not that cheap. It comes with its own costs. So every month that it's getting delayed, the costs to us is also adding on.
That's very kind of you, Mr. Rajput. Kind and considerate on your part. Definitely, you are taking care of your customers. But I would also want to understand how long do you think you will still take, or how long would you still require to give them the possession, and would you be then giving this compensation till that time?
See, so to be very honest and frank, the estimated time, according to me, should be easily 5 to 6 months. So I am not sure how I can, if I can tell her that, and if she will take it in a cool way, because initially they wanted to go to the consumer forum, and we don't want that because we don't want litigation. It's also not good for our brand image, and as a reputed brand, we also go to a lot of builders association conferences. So of course that is not something that we would want our name to be associated with, because integrity and customer service is one of the biggest qualities about our company, and that's the one thing that we are known for. So of course we don't want it to be in court, and it's not like we are trying to just brush it off or like sweep it under the rug and give them a settlement. It's completely not that. If we are going to find a solution today and get an agreement for Mrs. Sia, it's of course going to be right on our part to only give the same treatment to the other customers. So I'm sure that we will, provide them with compensation. Of course, not give them all of the details of the mediation or not give them any of our settlement agreements. But for sure, we have to compensate the other customers in a similar and fair manner as we are today with Mrs. Sia.
So agreed. I get your point. Another question that I have is, you have already delayed 1 year, and then you are saying another 5-6 months. So that's 1.5 years of delay. I'm sure your project planning must have considered some time for some unforeseen events also. So
Absolutely.
why is it that there is so much of delay, and then which is something, and has this been conveyed to your customers?
Okay,
Because
right.
their demand is also at their side. I'm sure you yourself convinced that their demand is right?
Right. So again, like I mentioned about the occupancy certificate, right? The problem is we are having sort of I would say sort of a setback from the fire department to give their NOC for our occupancy certificate to be approved. So we have done all our measures on our part in terms of ensuring that there's health and sanitary considerations and measures taken for the apartment. And there's also fire safety guidelines and measures taken. We have installed fire alarms, and we've also installed the fire extinguishers and the manual right there, how to use the fire extinguisher right next to the spots that it's been installed. So we have done our part. It's just that the fire department is taking a little while longer to get our particular building approved and our property approved, and that is where the delay is stemming from. So it's completely out of our hands, and that is the only reason why we're trying to compensate the investors in a manner where they can feel they will feel that they are that we are not like delaying it with any bad intentions. And this is precisely why we don't want this matter to go to court as well. And apart from that, we're ready to also provide for alternative accommodation till when the actual possession can be given to Mrs. Sia. So that is also a possible possible zone that we're looking at for Mrs. Sia, considering that she has waited for all this while, and we don't want her to be sad, and we don't want to lose our customers either.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How much of what you have just discussed is known to Mr. and Mrs. Sharma at the moment? Of all
Right.
the problems?
So none of this is known to them. We are one thing that we're scared of is that whatever we share here might go to the media. That's why we didn't want to go to courts, because generally it becomes a public issue. So if you could just tell me about, I just don't want this to go to the public. Our reputation will be lost, and all the customers will start coming and asking us for some sort of compensation, for some sort of equal treatment. And I really can't give them alternative accommodation that I would be offering to Mrs. Sia, because that is not something that's feasible for us either on our part.
Would it be possible for you to consider to share some of these problems that you're facing so that the other side would understand it better?
Yes, absolutely. I just hope that none of it would be shared by them to the others. If I could probably get that assurance, then I would be more than happy to share it with them.
Okay, so can we bring this point across when we are having the meeting with Mrs. Sharma?
Yeah, would you mind if I would I can bring it up so that she understands
Yes.
that there is no bad intention?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
So do we move out to Mrs. Sharma now? Do we have a private session there now?
Yeah, I'll just turn my video off.
Yeah.
Mrs. Sharma, thank you for waiting so patiently. There were certain issues, commercial and confidential issues that we were trying to understand from Mr. Ranveer. There are some points that possibly they want to tell you so that we can come to an amicable solution here. Is there what do you think is a solution for this? Some alternative accommodation or something, or because yeah.
Yeah, so basically what we are looking for is very straightforward. Like I said, they offered us compensation, 20,000 it seems per month. I mean, that's really unfair, and it's not something that we're looking for. I mean, it is our entire life's investments, and I come from, like, we are very middle class people. So we've struggled all our lives, and we put our life savings in this in this apartment. But that's really not, that's not the only thing. It's most important to us, but there are other things that are really, really important for us to have that property, and that's exactly what we are asking for. So what they're offering us, 20,000 rupees, go find your apartment, go stay somewhere else. How does that work? It's not a solution at all.
Mr. Sharma, have you had a session with them where you have actually understood what state or what stage the whole issue is at the moment, or have you just been informed that this is what they're offering and you're not aware of actually what's happening?
They've said there are delays, unexplained delays. There is no explanation that is given to me. I've only been told, in fact, my husband and I have had several meetings with them where we've not really got any answers. All they are offering us is 20,000 rupees as a rental where we can go and find ourselves another place.
And
And
I
that
mean, there
also
has
they expect us to go around all over Pune. We have work to do as well, and that's not the only thing for us to do in life. And if that was what we had to do, why would we spend so much money and buy this property? But like I said, I mean, money is not really so much. That's why we have refused the compensation. We don't want your 20,000. All we want is our flat, and right now, literally.
So you are looking for a place which you can call your own home. Is that the comfort of the home? Is that what you are looking for, or is it something else?
So actually, what has happened is, see, we've been bankers all our lives. So my husband and I, and we decided and chose Pune as the place where we would settle down. In fact, I've quit my job. So has my husband. He's joining a business. I'm working with a private bank now. And that's primarily because we are trying to ensure a good future for our son Kunal. And so what we've done for him is we've chosen the best school, one of the best schools in India. And so we're trying to in fact get him. He's academically brilliant. So what we really want for him, and that's what he wants as well, is that he gets admitted to this school. And the school has a very strict rule, and the rule is that the child needs to stay within 5 kilometers of the property of the school premises. And we calculated all of this. It was a thought out decision where we took this property with all the amenities and everything that would be best suited for all of us. But particularly for Kunal, so it would be easier for him to go to school. The school, we've spoken to the school, and that they are very, very clear about the rule. And unfortunately, we've been trying to try and find a place on rental basis for the time being, but it's Pune is a difficult place to be able to find those apartments. And
Well,
our money, of course, is entirely invested in the property. So with this 20,000 rupees, so we are definitely not getting anything close by. And for all this madness of the builders, my child's future is at stake, really.
So your primary concern is that you should be staying within a radius of 5 kilometers from the school of your child.
Yes,
So
yes. And yes, so that, and also the fact that I don't want all this shifting business time and again, because studies, you know how important they are, and the child really needs to be focused, and it's so easy for them to be distracted. So that is why I have been insisting that this property should be delivered to us as promised, so that we can get on with life. We've already spoken to the school. The admissions will begin next year. So before that, I want everything to really be settled down before the academic year begins, so that he can completely focus only on his studies and not be affected by these kind of distractions. It's also very, very stressful for us to deal with this. So obviously the stress, I think, somewhere also tends to get passed on to the child, and that's also in a way affecting him. So I'm looking for is to really protect my child.
I
Mr. Sharma,
understand the difficulties that you may be facing, but do you think it would be nice if the OC is not obtained, and then you have difficulties if you go and stay in that place? Then possibly the woes will be more than the ones that you are enlisting now?
Yeah, but the builders not really come out clear on any information. So we don't really know what the issue is. They keep saying every time we go there, they say, oh yeah, ho jayega, ho jayega, ho jayega. Or 2022 was when they promised. So that ho jayega mein sab time mein nikal gaya. So there's not enough clarity also of what the problem is. So every time you go to them, they want to just evade the questions and saying, nahi, madam, ho jayega, ho jayega. एक महीना 15 दिन ऐसा करके एक साल
Right.
गुजरते हैं अभी.
Mr.
So,
Sharma, sir, can I ask, Mr. Shiru?
yeah,
If
yes,
you
yes,
don't mind.
yes.
Sorry, sir. Mr. Sharma, this point that was very important to you about your son and the school. Have you mentioned this to any senior or anybody that you have spoken to on the other side team?
I've not met any senior person. That
Okay,
is another problem. So
okay. So
they are
if
meeting these people, they only want to brush us aside and say, नहीं मैडम हो जाएगा, थोड़ा delay है, समझो और निकलो और ये 20,000 ले लो और निकलो, मतलब इंतजार करो. So
I
we've
get
not really had the chance to be able to
Would you like to bring it up, ma'am, if you get a chance right now to put your grievance or put your issue across to the other side?
In
Yeah.
fact, I'm happy to discuss, I'm happy to discuss. In fact, I really want you to know that the school has been very, very categoric in mentioning to me, because I spoke to them as well, that if we are not producing or we are not residing within that area, within the 5 kilometer radius, they're going to reject the admission. He's got admission. वो सब हो गया है, but his admission will be cancelled if we don't produce the proof of residence.
And
Then,
have you been?
yeah, sorry.
No, sir, go ahead. Sir. I'll ask the next question later. Yeah.
Then do you think it would be a good idea now to have a joint session, because there are points, both of you want to speak to each other, but I think you didn't get a common ground for that. So let's get together.
Yes.
So can I ask one thing before we start that?
Yeah.
Mrs. Sharma, till this issue came up, you were happy with their reputation and their integrity, and is that the reason why you chose them?
Yes,
And
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Even in fact with the dealings, I've not had any issues. It's just that it is this one delay which is causing me so much stress that I really don't know what to do. And
Okay.
yeah, I mean, if it was a normal circumstance, I wouldn't even have bothered so much. I maybe would have waited, but this issue is costing me my son's future, so I
Right.
can't really afford to kind of let it go so easily.
Right. So I think, like Mr. Shirut said, we'll have a joint session, and then maybe we can work on this a little more.
Okay. Thank you. Let us stop for now. Any thoughts on how it's going so far?
I think it's going good. They are good actors. They got into the character, and the interest also has come out, and the position also is very clear.
Okay, so can you tell me what the interest is and what the position is on each side?
The position is from Mrs. Sharma's side is that she wants the position as per the agreed terms, and the position of RSR is that they cannot, because of some legal tangles or whatever issues they have. They want to do it, and they've always been doing it, so they don't. It's not that they don't want to do it. It's just that there are obstacles which they will do it as fast as possible, try to get rid of them. So that's the position. And the interest is for Mrs. Sharma is that her child needs to get admission within that 5 kilometer radius, and she's not able to get accommodation in that particular 5 kilometers with that 20,000 that has been offered. And she doesn't want the difficulty of changing from one place to another, because shifting is a very difficult task. I will leave
And she doesn't
it
want
to
to disturb the schedule of the child.
Yes, I think interests of RSR can be discussed by someone else. I don't want to say it.
Right. We'll continue with this. This role play is important for, you know, and we will pick it up at some point. Let's stop here because we are looking at feedback in terms of the kind of questions that we were asking. So there were a couple of questions, actually, Dr. Subodh, that you asked. Actually, one question to both, I mean, basically to Sia Sharma, where you kind of were exploring something in terms of putting the emotion down for her. You know, instead of asking her just why or what, or, you know, just asking her side, there was an explanation that you gave. That is it like this? Is it like this? Where was that coming from?
What was that question? Sorry, I don't remember.
I think it was something to the tune of is getting delayed. So have you tried to find Dr. Preeti also asked a similar question. Have you tried to find out from them what has happened? And you in fact named some emotions and kind of tried to you were exploring it, but it was more from where I saw it as a third person. I almost felt that it was coming from somewhere in your mind where you thought you knew where the problem lied. So that's, I mean, I just want you to be, you know, if you can remember, because I got that question, and I also thought that Dr. Preeti came from that, you know, have you explored this with the other side? That was the thing. My only question to you all is, to all of you, is do you think that you all have understood the entire story before you have explored it in terms of which direction you want to take it in?
No, it's
Because
not.
from when I was watching it, I just felt that there was a change in the direction. I don't know what the participants felt. Maybe we can ask them first. Kamakshi, Mrinalini, did you all feel that you all had the space to see? Basically, the first few questions came out very well. I could see that there was a lot of space, but I want to know, at some point, did you all feel that you all were not asked the right questions, or you all didn't have the space to speak at any point?
Okay. Kamakshi, if you want to go ahead. Okay. So I think when I was talking about the OC, right? So I think that initially when I was talking about it, I only gave an explanation of what exactly an occupancy certificate is. I didn't tell anything about why there's a delay in obtaining it and what was the issue in obtaining it. And I think that if I had probably said that, if I was asked the question to, elaborate why I didn't get my occupancy certificate or anything, then I think I would have asked them to end the private session earlier, and I would have given them a lot more about what solutions I'm looking at. So I think I came up with that later after someone else had asked a question. So I think that maybe if that was probed on a little more about the occupancy certificate, I think I only mentioned in the beginning that you wouldn't be able to get a water bill, a water connection, or an electricity connection.
Yes.
So
yes.
I didn't tell that the whole issue was with the fire department not giving it to us. So that part, I think I could have probably been
So
better.
basically, what Mrinalini is saying is that there is you have to explore the issue to the point where let that person explain it more and stay with them on that point. What we are doing is we are jumping that point and trying to get a bigger picture, to just kind of find, oh, what is the issue, what is the interest. But you will find the interest if you stay with the story and not kind of create a story in your own mind. So just being curious about it, which I felt that there were one or two, and okay, first of all, excellent in terms of the quality, but our expectations from you are much higher. So that's one part. And this just a feedback so that the next time we get even better. And so that the whole story comes out. So I felt a little bit somewhere that there was, it was being cut short. And that's what Brunali is talking about. Kamakshi, your feedback,
Yeah,
how
so
you felt?
yeah, so there was one particular question which asked me whether, how would I feel if I went without the OC?
I asked that
Like
question.
it
Yeah.
almost kind of put me in the spot wherein I said, if I'm okay, matlab ye to galat kaam karke bhi khush hai. So, so that was where, like I was caught off guard a little bit because I didn't know what to say. So that was like it was an uncomfortable question, and I wouldn't have liked to answer it probably if I was in an actual case, because this had to go on. So we took that, and I think there was also this thing about whether you have asked them for an explanation. Have you gone and spoken to them? Have you asked them what the problem is and why the delays are being caused? So I think
You were
those
being,
also
you felt you were being put in a spot?
yeah, so where it was almost like, oh, you've not done your bit, and so maybe you should also go ahead and talk to the builder and
So did you
No,
feel
no,
in
no.
that sense a little bit? Yeah.
Can I say that? I think I took those questions. I didn't mean it this way. I just wanted to know whether it was discussed. That's
yeah,
it.
Correct,
So
correct,
not
completely,
because we wouldn't know what has happened across the table sitting as a third person. So it was not meant in this manner. So I
yeah.
think it was
Yes.
wrongly
Yes.
worded, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But it's important for us to take this, because this is what creates that little doubt in the minds of the parties, that they are putting me in a spot. He's at fault and they're asking me only. Y'all are asking the questions because y'all know the other side, but still trying to keep that balance and asking questions which are completely neutral is that little tricky part that we need to do. Yes.
But madam, unless we ask the question, how come we come to know what is the
No,
real
you
issue?
can ask the question, but a little later. This is still at a stage where you've not understood the whole story. There's still more to the story. It's not out there. But because you all were moving from already to joint sessions, and we are coming from the, we are already coming to that point where the time is getting up. So I wanted to close it at this, and then we'll continue with it at another stage, because we still need to learn a few more skills to be able to practice. So this is just the initial part. Yes, Rushali?
So I still feel that the interest of the builder is not yet out, because I felt when I asked that question as to why it is delayed, I myself didn't find the answer to be satisfactory. It seemed to be very superficial for me, as if the complete information is not being given or being declared. So if you can help me understand if somebody has understood the interest from the discussions that have happened, I would be happy to. I may be wrong, of course.
Yes, so we'll continue that, Urushali. We'll continue, and we'll be learning some more, skills in terms of exploring how to explore, and also some skills in terms of how to, have this conversation. But whatever has happened till now, it's extremely good in terms of the kind of questions that were asked and what information has come out. It's come out quite quickly also. And we'll continue. So you are right, there are some more interests that will be disclosed and some more information that will be helpful for us later in terms of finding a solution. Yes, Dr. Deepa?
Madam, what I felt when I was listening to everybody was, were we trying to be a little judgmental in the questions that we were asking? A little
No.
bit of because I mean, it also felt as if there was some kind of bias with some sympathy for the builder. I mean, I don't know. I may be very wrong. I may be very wrong. I do not know, but then
That's what the Sharmas felt. You have to ask yourself where it was coming from. Was it coming from trying to create a truce, in terms of trying to diffuse the tension? Was it being tried? So these are questions you have to ask yourself, but that is what the Sharmas did feel. That's what she said.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not intentional, but we have to see how it's perceived. So that's what they said, and you are saying the same thing.
Only question here that I have is that how do you prevent such things? I mean, is that what we're going to be discussing next?
Yes, we will take this further. There are a lot of more things to be discussed, but this is just the initial part in terms of us understanding how to ask questions and how to disclose certain things. There will be more nuances that we will look at in the coming sessions. Yes.
Ganda, can I
Yes.
just add here?
Yes, please.
Because she carries that impression how to get over this. There are two ways you can put your questions. Help me understand and put your question. I'm curious to know. Put your question. So that will show genuinely you're not trying to take sides, but you're trying to find out more. The moment you put this question, I mean, paraphrase your question with, I'm curious to know, please help me understand. Or help me understand why this. Parties will not feel that you are actually trying to, because then it will not look like a cross-examination. Just the frame. Think about it. Yes, as Ganda said, as you go along, we'll talk about this more later.
Yes. Mrunalini, last comment from you. So
yes, ma'am. Just in a minute, so that I don't take up a lot of time. So I think there was one question that I'm so sorry, Dr. Subodh, that I'm putting you in the spot, but I think there was one question that he had asked to Mrs. Sia, which was to the effect that what if they gave you an alternate accommodation option? So I think that when I was mentioning that in my private session as well, I mentioned that that was something that I would like to take up personally with her so that it doesn't feel like it's from a bad intention. And I also think that that was because we were discussing how this communication stage is more of, getting to know about the problem. So I think that we jumped the gun and we went to solution finding rather than understanding. I think Mrs. Sia didn't even mention what she was here for and her interests, and I think we delved into solutions a little early on. So I just wanted to flag that so that we could take that up later as well.
Yes. So again, this is something we haven't discussed in detail. So we'll discuss it. But yes, it's just a note that whatever is discussed in the private sessions, and if the party says that it is not to be disclosed, it is not to be disclosed to the other party without express permission. And some things, sometimes offers are better to be made. I mean, it depends if on the kind of offer it is and the observations of the mediator, whether the offer is to be made by the mediator, the offer is made to be made by the party. But that's a decision that one needs to make. But we haven't covered this as yet. So that's why those observations we are not sharing. But thank you so much, Mrinalini, for sharing that. We will get back to this and, take this example when we are dealing with that.
Thank you, Mrinalini. Thanks for the observation. I think I made a mistake by even saying that can we? It should be will you explore kind of thing, even if I had to make that statement. It can't be we. When I say we, it is RSR and I are on one side, it appeared that way. So that was a gross mistake. Yeah, I admit.
No, sir. I'm so sorry. I took your name
No,
out.
no.
I
You
think
have
it's
to make
just for us
mistakes
to
and
learn
correct.
those little.
And correct those things. Thank you so much.
Vrishali, you want to say something?
Yeah, just a small question. So typically, we should be getting into private conversations at the stage of reaching an impasse. right?
Not really. No, no. Even to explore the facts, you can go into a private. There is no fixed format. Because see, some of this information may not come out in a joint session. So you may, like for disclose in front of the party that there is why he's not getting the occupancy certificate. It could be a problem at his hand. It could be something else. So he will not disclose it. It's almost like a trade secret. He will not disclose it because that could be used against him at some point. So he will not, and you cannot proceed because then you will also assume that the builder is at fault and that he is not giving the possession because of some other reason. So it's best to have those conversations, get it clear with in terms of your this thing. And if you find that there's resistance to have it in the joint session, you explore it in the private session. So when you have private sessions, there is no format. You can even have them earlier. You can have them multiple times during the session. And you can have them separately with lawyers, separately with parties and lawyers together, as long as you maintain transparency as to the fact that you are doing it to understand the matter better.
So here in this case, the moment the builder said that I would like to have this discussed in person, so personally, I found it to be too fast to get into private conversation.
So first of all, if a party asks for a private conversation, you should give it to them
immediately. You should give it immediately. You should
Yes,
not hold
because
it
there's
back.
something that they want to share. So that is completely okay. Secondly, we are now in a thing that we are doing only one thing. We are just trying to find like more information. It's not the whole simulation that we are doing. If we had done opening statements, we could have done, explored it further. We are trying to shorten it because we are trying to learn one skill at a time. At the end, like in the last week, we will be doing the full thing. That time we will have more time. But right now we are shortening it so that we can focus on one skill. Okay, so that's why don't think about it like a full process. The full process we will do at the end. Okay. JP, would you like to add something, or should we close for the day?
You can see it from their faces. Do they want to still continue?
Okay, let's call it a day then, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
JP, we are glad to hear you. I mean, whatever you say, short statements, but they are very, very impactful.
Rushali, this is all I'm getting the hints from, who? Ganda. Ganda keeps some of those secrets with her. You have to really dig it out of her.
That's very kind of giving me a compliment.
No. That's why, I wish I could have, regularly joined in. While I was doing this, I was also preparing for a session I'm doing tomorrow at 11 to 1. So if I had the time, I'm sure I would have loved to be, I will be coming in later, but I would have continued, long. You see, I feel it's actually tiring for Ganda, when you do a 2.5 hour continuous talking. And secondly, sometimes it may get monotonous or boring. So if you hear somebody different in between, it just helps you to, move on. And it keeps the interest on. So that's why, it's good to have two people doing it. And, that synergy, sometimes I have been, whenever we've done it, Ganda and I did it last time, I do it with other trainers. People say it's better. That synergy actually rubs off. So, and yours problem is the time, yeah. You guys have been working through the day and taking off 2.5 hours at this time in the evening is not easy. I wish, mostly our trainings start in the morning when you're fresh. The absorbing power is much more. But at this time of the day, it's difficult. And the fact that you people still are like, taking so much of interest and coming out with certain things, which are exceptional. I told Gandha this. And maybe like I took it upon myself and I told you lawyers, that was the last bastion of our profession, which, people said that you got nothing else, you came to law. And there it was, medicine and engineering at our time was the most sought after, IIT and, so you guys are, that bracket. So you're doing great. I mean, your uptake is really, really good, really good. And curiosity. I mean, when I said that's how it is. When you say I'm curious, that shows real interest. And then that I saw that, I mean, that curiosity is there to learn, which is the only reason why probably Gandha is continuing. 2.5 hours, if there was, and that's what sometimes you feel, when you're sitting next to a camera and speaking into a wall, it is so difficult and so disconcerting. You really don't know. That's why we keep asking you, keep your videos on so that we know that you are really there and not that you have just put on this thing and you have disappeared. And I'm really speaking to the camera. So these are challenges. These are challenges of, but a physical, I'm still saying a physical training, nothing like it. It's much better, much better. Gandha?
Gandha,
I
Gandha's
think
left.
ma'am left. Yes, sir. I think she had like another engagement. So
Okay,
she just,
great.
Yeah.
Okay, good night.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.